In this video, I'm going to show you how to download SQL Server 2014, which will be needed to run integration services. So although we're not going to actually be using any SQL Server 2014 features right away, we'll just show you how to download it. So the way to get started, you go to the Download Center and you can select after you log in with your live ID, you can download an evaluation copy. You can select, for example, an ISO file and then register your desire to download it. You fill in the specific information that you want for the file. In our case, we will use a 64-bit version of SQL Server. And you can choose how you want to hear from Microsoft. Go ahead and continue. There's a little bit more information that you have to fill in, specifically the language choice that you want out of the many language choices. And we'll go ahead and click continue. So once we continue, now we're going to use the capability of the editor the video editor to expedite all the various dead times here. So in this case, we're going to go ahead and start our download. And you can see we're downloading at a pretty good speed at 40 megabytes per second, again, because that's because we're actually in the cloud doing the download. So we'll go ahead and let this run. Now that we're done, it goes ahead and, as part of the download process, runs a security scan against the ISO file. So we'll let that wrap up. And now we're ready to go to the downloads location and actually open up the ISO file so that we can run SQL Server here. Okay, so click Downloads and double click on the ISO file. Or actually, I want to go into Properties first and unblock it and click OK, and that just says I trust the download here. So when we open up the ISO file, this is like opening up a DVD, so we can double click on Setup and launch the SQL Server setup. Now again, I've cut out a lot of the dead time as part of the setup here. Overall, this process took me about 45 minutes to go ahead and download and do the install. But I've edited it down to about 8 minutes here. So the first thing you need to do is indicate that you want to do the installation. And you do a new SQL Server installation here. And that will go ahead and launch the setup specifics. Now, since this is the free trial, you go ahead and specify that you want to do an evaluation copy. If you have a product key, you can go ahead and put in the copy there. Like all the other products, you have to accept the licensing terms and click Next. And what this is doing now is running through the checks to make sure that setup has all the components that it needs to finish up the job. The other thing that you can do is it's also going out to the web to check to see if you have all the latest setup bits as well. So here we've passed our pre-checks, and we're going to do a full SQL Server installation here with just the feature set. Now to use SSIS, we do have to select the Database Engine Service. We're going to select Analysis Services later on because we're going to want to show you eventually how you can use Analysis Services potentially on top of HANA. So here we click Integration Services and Management Studio, which is under the Management Tools. And then finally, later on, we may want to show you how to use reporting services against SAP HANA data, even though there are some very capable tools such as SAP Lumiere, BobJ, and Crystal Reports. But SQL Server has similar kinds of capabilities built in. So if you're running a SQL Server with your SAP systems, you can use these tools. Okay, so we're going to use a default instance here for our SQL Server instance just to expedite the install. And now that we've specified that, we can choose all the various accounts. We'll use all the default accounts here. Now the thing I am going to change here is for SQL Agent. This is the thing that does job management. We're going to set that to automatic because with SSIS you can schedule the execution jobs over time. The other thing I need to do is define a server configuration. I need to add the admin user. We'll also use mix mode. This allows you to use authentication very similar to HANA, such as system. So what we're doing is we're typing in the SA account, which is the same as system, in here and giving it a password. And then go ahead and clicking next. The other thing I'm going to do is install a tabular model. This is very similar to an analytic view cube on top of SQL Server. And for reporting services, we're just going to do the install right now, the components, rather than configure it. And then go ahead and click install. And again, in the purposes of editing, this whole process takes about 30 minutes to complete. But we'll go ahead and cut it down here through the editor. So now that the setup's complete, just go ahead and wait for this dialog to dismiss, and we can see here that everything's there. We can use this dialog to find out all the log information about what was going on. I'm going to go ahead and close this and go ahead and close the installation center and close our ISO windows and our download files. Now what I'm doing here is I'm going to go ahead and use the Windows command and then go over here and just do a quick check to show you SQL Server Management Studio. Just to show you, just again, Management Studio is the kind of the equivalent of SAP HANA Studio. But it's using a Windows client. Here you go ahead and specify your credentials. By default, it picks your local machine. You can go ahead and connect. And then in the Object Explorer, you can go ahead and see what's going on with your server. So in this case, if I expand out databases, we don't have any user databases, so they don't see anything, but we have our system databases categorized. I kind of like this a little better than HANA Studio in that it segregates out the system content from the other content. The other thing I'm pointing out here is Integration Services Catalog. This is where you can post packages that would execute on the server. And then finally, SQL Agent is where you can go ahead and set up jobs that can execute on a regular basis, such as your ETL jobs. And that's it.